and down to get into coverage. Now, for this team, their corners have actually been pretty good. Casey Hayward, Trevon Mullen, Nate Hobbs have actually played fairly well this season. Where they have struggled are when their linebackers, Denzel Perriman, who's been a tackling machine, when he ends up in coverage, he's given up 5 touchdowns according to Pro Football Focus, quarterback rating in the 120s. Same with linebacker Corey Littleton, and then safety Jonathan Abram, their strong safety. So they drafted Trevon Moehrig, the first rounder out of TCU this year. He's kind of that free safety, but the Browns have an opportunity, I think, to really attack the middle of this field and attack the linebackers and the safeties in coverage, whether that be with the chief, our tight ends, whether that be with short crossing routes. And again, when you're a cover 3, the big cover 3 beaters are you run a vertical and then you run a crosser from the other, deep crosser from the other side behind the linebackers in the vacated area where the corners go in and fill in that deep route, or you can do kind of what Jarvis did on that first drive where you have a guy in the slot who looks like he's running a crosser and comes back out into that same void that exists on the sidelines. And there'll be holes in the middle of the field as well where you can kind of drop it in between the windows, whether it be on slants or on deep digs. But the Browns have an opportunity, I think, to attack a defense that, frankly, is not that good. And so you look at where do they stack up in the NFL as a defense? And the answer is not great. So they are in an important areas. They're even worse. So 20th in total defense, 13th in pass defense, 26th against the run. You can run on this football team, and I think the Browns are going to dial up a lot of running with Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson in this game. Then you get into scoring defense, 31st, second worst in the league, 27.7 points per game. They are 27th on third downs, 43.5%, and they are 77.1% in the red zone. That is worst in the NFL, only 13 takeaways, 25th. So this is not a great defense. It's not a playmaking defense, but it does have some guys who can wreck games, and that's up front. Yannick Ngakoue, he's got 9 sacks on the season. He's already been the AFC Player of the Week once this year. You've got Max Crosby on the other side, 5 sacks, very disruptive. He himself has been an AFC Player of the Week this year, and both times when one of those guys were the Player of the Week, you guessed it, their team won the football game. But it's a defense that has struggled of late. It's a defense that cannot, as I said, stop the run. And while Yannick Ngakoue is an elite pass rusher, and he is very, very disruptive. I've talked about this many, many times. Very disruptive. He's got the 9 sacks. Since he's been in the league in 2016, he's 3rd in the NFL in terms of sack strip fumbles. So you've got to watch him coming off the edge. And in a game when you do not have your tackles, that's an issue. The guys, by the way, ahead of him, T.J. Watt's got 21, Chandler Jones 21, and Ngakoue 20, tied with Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald at 19. So he can make those kind of big plays, but he is one of the worst graded run-defending defensive linemen in the league. At Pro Football Focus, I think this is hilarious. Pro Football Focus, his run defense grade is a 30.1, which when you look at anybody who has played at all, that is the worst of anybody who's played more than 205 snaps in the league. So run right at him. You got Blake Hance, who's a guard, likely on that side, because Max Crosby usually rushes against your right tackle. Blake Hance is a guard who's a good run blocker, playing tackle. I think you want to run right at Yannick Ngakoue all day long.
Yeah, feels like it. That number's pretty startling. One other thing that ought to make you feel pretty good about all of this is, and we acknowledge it's a small sample size, but we saw Alex Van Pelt's call plays a year ago, and he was spectacular.
Yep.
He had an incredible touch for this. So you're shorthanded, acknowledged. You still have some of the things, as Z just pointed out, that the Raiders struggle with from a run defense standpoint in the middle of the field, as Z just laid out for you. Those are some things that you still have as strengths, and I think you've got a guy in Alex Van Pelt who is really capable, and last year I thought was awesome as a play caller. And I think he'll do a hell of a job on Saturday as well. This is such a collaborative process anyway.
Yes.
You know, Bill Callahan's going to be involved. I imagine that side of things will remain very, very strong.
There's no doubt in my mind. And Kevin Stefanski, I got a chance to talk to him yesterday, is the game planning process is basically the same, other than they're not in the same room. The way they're going through it, and he's putting the game plan together with Callahan and O'Shea and, of course, Alex Van Pelt, that's all the same. And so they're getting some work out on the field today, which is great to see for the Cleveland Browns. And you know, Coach can't be there for that. But they are ready to, you know, implement this game plan. And I think it's pretty obvious what you need to do in this game. Offensively, run the football and then work the middle of the field against their linebackers and safeties and coverage, and then take a few shots with some classic cover 3 beaters. And if you do that, I think there will be opportunities to make some big plays here. But for the most part, this is going to be a game about physicality. It's going to be about imposing your will. It's going to be running at Yannick Ngakoue, using your tight ends, the Chief being back, what he's become as a blocker, and then getting Chief and Bryant and your receivers in the middle of the field, working the linebackers and the safeties in short areas, finding those soft spots in the zones, and then making some yards after the catch. And on case, let the layups be layups, especially in the play action, because at some point they're going to really have to try to sell out to deal with our ground game. That is not what they are good at. They can get after the quarterback with 4. They will put 7 in coverage, so you've got to find those soft spots and typically get the ball out quickly because of what Crosby and Ngakoue are capable of doing.
Yep, certainly is. There's the game plan for it for our offense versus their defense. We'll flip the script a little bit later on in the program. You could score Cleveland Browns season tickets from Sugardale and your local Meijer, plus the chance to kick a field goal to score 10 seasons worth of season tickets during a Browns game. Text Browns to 55678 to enter. 55678 to enter. Rules and regulations do apply. We will go around the league coming up next, and after that, you'll hear from Joe Woods. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Here for Raising Cane's. What do you get when you combine the best ingredients with the best crew? You get Raising Cane's quality chicken finger meals made just for you. Join the crew, ready to safely serve the community. Apply today at workatcanes.com or text RC Jobs to 97211. Standard message rates may apply. Raising Cane's, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks. As we mentioned off the top, the big story in the NFL, Urban Meyer and his dismissal down in Jacksonville. Not surprising from the standpoint of the end result, but I think perhaps how quickly it came about was probably crossed the Rubicon with the story that came out yesterday of the former kicker. That was probably the final nail in this thing, and any other narrative seems to be nonsensical to me, that this was something that was in the works. If it was in the works, you don't fire somebody at midnight. So there was something that led to the ultimate firing, and that story was probably it. So he's gone there. We discussed that off the top. There is more COVID fallout around the league. Dolphins wide receiver Jalen Waddle goes on the list. The Washington football team now has 21 players on the list, 17 active. That is an incredible number of players. I have not seen anything new out of Los Angeles. Dan Graziano on with us yesterday thought that L.A. was going to be in a worse spot than us, but so far I haven't seen anything to lead me to believe that they are. I know they had a decent amount, but it seems like our numbers are still bigger, and certainly Washington's numbers, absolutely dwarf both.
Yeah, and so we'll see what ends up coming out of there. It's 10:30 on the West Coast right now, so you would imagine that they would be able to start getting into to some of those results with the Los Angeles Rams if they are going to get results today. So we'll see ultimately how that plays out, though.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, Roger Goodell speaking yesterday, and there was all this innuendo and rumor that coming out of the owners' meetings that there would be some sort of movement in the testing or the threshold to come back from positive tests. We have not seen anything official on that front, and as Graziano pointed out, that would need to be collectively bargained with the union before you could make any changes to that. So that's something to consider as well. Do we have?
Segura, check your email. We got moves.
All right. I am checking. I currently do not have that. It has not reached my inbox just yet.
All right.
I got it.
Gibby,
Right.
do you have the better? Gibby's got the better inbox. I like it.
The Browns have made the following roster moves activated from reserve COVID-19. Tight end Steven Carlson, who's on injured reserve for the rest of the year. Tight end David Njoku as well, which we knew that he was back. Signed to the active roster from the practice squad, wide receiver Lawrence Cager, the 6'5" second-year receiver out of the University of Georgia, who's been with the Browns since October the 4th, and he was in the team's Week 11 game. He was active. The Browns have activated from the practice squad as a COVID-19 replacement quarterback Nick Mullins, who's serving as the backup to Case Keenum on Saturday, who started many games in a very similar system with the 49ers. And then signed to the practice squad a couple of guys who have been with the Browns before. Brian Allen, the cornerback, 6'3". He's been with the Browns. He's been with the Steelers, San Francisco, and he spent all of training camp with the club this year. And then Tedrick Thompson, the safety as well, 37 games, 16 starts with the Seahawks and Chiefs. He was initially joined the Browns via waivers last season but didn't appear in a game. He will wear number 37, Allen number 34, Mullins number 9, Cager number 83. So those are the moves right now. And, Cager gives you some size in that receiver room where he can do some blocking in the run game, and also down near the goal line you can throw it up to him at 6'5". And so you're looking at a receiver room now that's going to be DPJ, Hollywood Higgins, I'm guessing Demetric Felton, Jamarcus Bradley, who's on the active roster, and then Cager. Those will be your wide receivers this week.
You read anything into that safety or from a Harrison standpoint, or is that a John Johnson only feel for you?
I think that could be John Johnson. And look, if Ronnie Harrison is still not practicing and was unable to go a week ago, then I think you have to prepare for a contingency situation in which Ronnie Harrison would be unavailable to you again. And so when you think about that and what that means for this defense, you would say to yourself, of the three safeties that we're supposed to have, if Ronnie's unable to go, now we've got one. And the one that we have is Grant Delpit, who's coming off of playing every snap on defense and having the best game of his pro career, and we're going to need it again. And so now just to take a step back and let's say, okay, it appears as though we won't have Greg Newsome either at corner. So let's look at those two rooms together and say to ourselves, what is there? Now, guys who are signed right here, Thompson and Allen, my guess is both would be, if they're up, are here to play special teams and to try to just kind of help out and fill in there. as opposed to playing. So safety, your safety room right now would be Delpit, MJ Stewart, who made that transition this season, Javante Moffitt, who has been elevated sometimes this year, and then Richard LeCount. So my guess would be that the Browns would start Delpit and MJ Stewart at safety. And maybe Moffitt creeps into that mix. My guess furthermore would be that it is going to be very difficult for us to get into a lot of dime looks. I would not expect a lot of dime looks. And then the other part is now, wait a second, what does that mean? If MJ Stewart's now playing safety for you, I thought he was supposed to be our nickel corner. So that leads me to believe that in a base defense situation, you'd have Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, and these are not scores. This is just trying to go through and think through this, logically, I guess, about where the Cleveland Browns are at or what they might try to do to deal with this is at corner, you'd have in base, when it's just two corners on the field, you'll have, Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward. When you go into nickel, if, you don't have Greg Newsome, you don't have Troy Hill, and now MJ Stewart is needed to play safety at times. Now, he may come down to safety and from safety to corner and nickel, and you decide to go with Javante Moffitt in that spot alongside Grant Delpit there, or even Rich LeCount. That's a possibility. The other possibility, and one that as I say it out loud and talk through these that I kind of like more, is that when we go into a nickel situation, we've got A.J. Green, who has played well for you this year. Put him on one side, put Greedy on the other, and just have Denzel go wherever Hunter Renfrow goes.
Yeah, I like that.
So I don't know how that's going to play itself out. I don't know what the Browns are thinking right now about that. But my sense would be, that might be a way that you could still accomplish what you want, still get the matchup. The most important matchup that you've got is going to be Hunter Renfrow. Waller doesn't look like he's still practicing. The other receivers, Brian Edwards, Deshaun Jackson can still fly. You've got to be careful. You saw the big plays in the Dallas game. So you've got to certainly still give him some cushion. But it feels like just getting Denzel in a spot where Denzel is the one who can deal with Renfrow, it feels like that makes a lot of sense for the Cleveland Browns. Or you maybe just say, look, I feel comfortable with MJ coming down, and I'd rather have somebody else on the back end, as opposed to moving Denzel from where he is. Well, that's going to be one of, I think, the key things to watch as this unfolds is what do you do relative to Hunter Renfrow? Does he get any kind of special treatment? Now, remember, when you say follow and all of those things, we're not a predominantly man-to-man team. We're going to play some man, but we're predominantly a zone team.
Sure.
So is the thought of matching up, does that even make sense with the defense that we play more often than not? And so I think the real question becomes is, does MJ Stewart, who has played the nickel for you in the past, does he come in and play that nickel, and then alongside Grant Delpit, you go with, if you don't have Ronnie, hopefully you have Ronnie, then it's a no-brainer. But if you didn't have Ronnie, then is it Javante Moffitt, is it Rich LeCount who get those reps on the back end to give you some shape? And you say, look, just don't let anybody get behind you, right?
Yeah. I mean, that lays it out. The man who will be making the decision is coming up next. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Joe Woods up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. EOX Vantage has a local presence with a global footprint. It's trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. Here's a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Scheel. He says, quote, "The tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers that open the door to us for all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut way down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, and cut hours off processes and response times. Operationally," he says, "it's a brand new ballgame for us at Skyward Specialty Insurance, and it can be for you too. You can learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616. Again, that's 216-298-1616 on that front. And now here's your defensive coordinator, Joe Woods.
You
guys are down.
Level of optimism that Ronnie Harrison can make it for Saturday?
Fingers crossed. No, Ronnie was actually practiced at the end of last week, and he was moving around. He just didn't feel like he was healthy enough to play at the level that he felt like he needed to play at. So based on that, I would believe that he'd make it to this game, but we'll get a chance to see here in the next couple of days.
Okay. Last thing, if you don't have Greg or Troy, who would your nickel be?
I really don't want to give it away, but we have multiple options based on what we want to do defensively. Ronnie has played some of the nickel position in some of our packages. MJ Stewart has played some of the nickel position. And with some of these guys, they understand the techniques enough. So if we just want to move some guys in there and just run specific calls, we can do that as well. And that's really kind of how I'm looking at it. It might be multiple guys, just really maybe based on what we're running defensively.
Hey, Joe, I wanted to follow up on that nickel question. How difficult is that when you play a guy like Renfro with the Raiders, and would you consider trying to match up Denzel with him, even though Denzel doesn't usually play inside?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the thoughts. But regardless, because of how he runs routes and how they use them, I think you have to put something in defensively to try to handle, multiple things. So even if we had all the guys up, we would still do some things to try to take them away.
Hey, Joe, when it comes to safety, who is next man up? Is it Moffitt or LeCount?
Really, to be honest with you, it might be both of them, and that's really a decision that we're going to have here over the next day or two. It's something we talked about defensively just a little while ago, but that'll be a decision. I have to talk to Kevin and AB who's up. But right now, we still feel comfortable, just as long as Ronnie gets healthy, and then having Ronnie and Grant. And then we have other guys like MJ Stewart that has some versatility to play there as well.
Yeah, Joe, if you guys can't practice this week, I know you're hoping to maybe get one in on tomorrow, but if you can't practice this week, considering the amount of guys you got to switch out here to get ready for this game, how concerned are you that you're not going to get that speed to look at what you have available to you?
It's honestly, it's not a perfect situation. It's not something that anybody would want, but that's what we did last year. So it's like you almost feel used to it. We had guys, especially into the season Pittsburgh game, the only reps they got was to walk through in the parking lot, the morning of the game and started for us. So it's kind of like been there, we've done that, we experienced it. So it's concerning, but I think we'll be able to handle it.
And some of the guys on the practice squad have been here for a while. Does that help you, the fact that some of the pieces that you will have to plug in, that they have at least been here with the team, so you're not pulling a guy off the street and having to play him in a key spot?
Yes, absolutely. Just because they're familiar with the scheme. And all those guys in practice, at times, like when the numbers get low, some of those guys on practice squad, they take reps on defense, just to keep guys fresh. So all those guys have experience, they understand the system. So I don't think there'll be a drop off from a learning standpoint.
Joe, just wondering, in the wake of all of this, and I know you guys went through this stuff last year too, but you guys have been hit really hard over the last couple of days. What are you sensing is the mood of your football team? How are these guys handling all this?
I really think the guys are handling it fine because there's enough guys on the team that went through it last year. So it's just like, okay, let's do it again. That's really the attitude I feel. Just
coming back here. 15 seconds.
Any panic? You feel like guys are ready to step up, like, hey, it's my opportunity, it's my chance.
You guys are hot.
but that's what I would say to you. Just my feel, after talking to the guys today.
And there you have Joe Woods answering some of the questions from the media about his defense and this Raiders offense. Now time for Dr. Z and the matchup. What do you see, pal?
Well, again, this is a Raiders team that offensively can absolutely sling the pill around the yard. Derek Carr already 5 games of more than 300 yards passing this season. And then you talk about, their ability to run it. That's where they struggle. So this is not the same team that came here a year ago in bad conditions, ran for 200 and something yards, which is the second most in the history of this matchup between the Raiders and the Browns. This is not that team. 4 new starters on the offensive line. Frankly, they're not good, but they are the number 3 passing offense, 288 yards a game. They're the number 9 total offense, 372.5 yards per game. 29th rushing, 84.6. They've allowed 31 sacks, 20th most in the, or 20th, which means 12th most in the league. They are 31st on third downs, 29th in the red zone. This is not a highly efficient offense, but what they do have is a player in Hunter Renfrow who in the last 3 games has at least 8 catches and 100 yards in 3 straight, totaling during that span 30 grabs, 353 yards, 117 per game, 10 catches a game, 15 first down catches. He's playing phenomenal football. First Raiders player since the merger with 3 straight games of 8+ receptions and 100+ receiving yards. Think about that. Since the merger. Think about all the players who have played on the Raiders. They go on to say he joined Tim Brown 6 times, Jerry Rice and Crabtree 2 times, as the only Raiders receivers to have 85 or more receptions in a single season. And Renfrow, correct me if I'm wrong from my time deep into the college world, was the slot for Deshaun Watson, right?
Sure was. Yeah, he caught the game-winning pass in the national championship game.
Yep, pretty darn good player, but he is their passing attack because Darren Waller is out. And with Darren Waller out, that really it's become the Hunter Renfrow show, which is one of the reasons why we were discussing, do you have, a follow situation from Denzel Ward and say, we're just going to try to take Hunter Renfrow out of the game. They've got Brian Edwards, who's got 27 catches, 500 yards. That's 18.5 a catch. He's made some big plays for them this season. Zay Jones, 22 for 282. Fabian Moreau, who's filled in for Darren Waller, just not the same a threat as a receiver. And then Deshaun Jackson has only caught 6 passes since joining the Raiders, but they've gone for 173 yards and a touchdown, 28.8 a pop. They will take shots down the field. They are not afraid to do that. They are not a dink and dunk offense by any stretch of the imagination. Josh Jacobs, their running back, he is caught on the season, though, 44 balls, 282 yards, 6.4 a catch. And then Kenyon Drake out of the backfield as well, 30 for 291. So this is a throwing football team. I mean, Derek Carr's got 3,926 yards on the season. I'll say it again, 3,926 yards passing this season. He will turn it over, 10 picks, and I said he's gotten sacked 31 times. But he's completing 68%. He's been good. It's been inopportune times of badness. But one thing to note is that they come in here slumping. This is a team that is slumping right now offensively. You go back, they beat the Eagles October the 24th, 33-22. Since then, they lose to the Giants 23-16, lose to the Chiefs 41-14, lose to the Bengals 32-13. The anomaly, they blow up against the Cowboys 36-33, lose to Washington 17-15, lose to the Chiefs 48-9. So they have not reached 17 points in 5 of their last 6 games.
Might be a race to that number.
Well, here's one. I always love going through the media guides
about us.
where they tell you kind of what your record is when you do certain things. Here's the Raiders. And you let me know if it gets any more just clear-cut than that. There are 3 stats that are pretty clear-cut. Raiders score 20 or more points.
Okay.
6-0. Raiders score 19 or fewer points. 0-7.
Wow.
Raiders win or tie the turnover battle, 5-1. Lose the turnover battle, 1-6. Raiders possess the football for more than 30 minutes. 5-0. Raiders have less than 30-minute time of possession, 1-7. So this is a game.
I don't know if we've ever seen anything quite like that.
It's pretty. Clear cut.
Opposite.
Squeeze the football, possess the football, limit their offensive possessions, limit their scoring, and beat this football team.
Yep. Well said. It's that simple. We'll do a little higher, lower coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you're going to play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. It's probably going to end up in a loss. So always set limits before you wager. Get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com. And time now for a little higher lower presented by the Ohio Lottery. And for that, we bring on Gibby. Hello, Gibby.
Hi, guys. How we doing?
Quiet day.
How are you, Gibby?
Well, ask me in about 6
Nana
hours.
said, the official Nana of the show said that you were cranky earlier, and she was sad about that.
Well, because things are changing
to see that
rapidly.
Yeah, when she drops a V cranky, that's serious. The V stands for very, in case you're
Look,
wondering.
Nana, I apologize.
Good.
I might have been over the top when I chewed out your son. Normally,
especially when I didn't.
Normally,
that was a legitimate. What I do?
Nana, just so we're clear, normally I'm in the right on this.
It was the most legit. What did I do?
on
Maybe of my entire career of what did I do?
Life?
Yeah, perhaps my life. Nay. Perhaps my life. What did I do?
Yeah, normally I am 100% in the right when I chew your son out.
Nobody believes that.
Okay. Just listen to the show for a couple of years, just like you tapping on the mic. When I yell at you, there's a reason.
We need on-air lights.
I'll tell you what. On the list of things and the grievances this week,
that's number one.
No, that's probably about 450.
Be amazing if we were like, you know what? To hell with all of it. We're not doing another second of radio until we get on-air lights.
Yes.
I don't care what's going on.
Even you don't have to give us the cool thing, the on-off cough. You have something that's up there that's in our eyesight that is actually truly illuminated when our mics are on and out when our mics are off, and then we just know.
Then you know.
The only way to know that your mic's on or off in this scenario is to hear it into your own ear.
You'll get
whether
nothing,
that be
you'll
from
get nothing in
talking
like it,
to
Spalding.
it, whether it be tapping it, tap, tap, taparoo.
Where is today's media invite?
What's
kids.
Gibby, aren't you presiding over a segment right now?
I am. Hold on. I'm sending something to Danny Cunningham, who's running our board.
Where's today's media invite?
What does that have to do with anything, Gibby? We're trying to do better or worse.
Here, I'll do one. While
Jeez.
Gibby's
Look,
doing that, I'll
I'm
do
trying
this.
to
Let me just
plan a
ask this
show.
one.
The show is changing
Okay.
as we go.
All right.
There
Listen.
could be luminaries.
I have a
Kill
question.
that poor woman. All right, so Jack.
All right, let's go.
I have something for you guys.
Yeah,
Hold
let
on,
Beau
real quick.
talk.
The bottom one is the Jacksonville one, right? You say, is this the worst organization in sports? It may be, or in the NFL. Houston, I think, might be worse. But here's the thing about Jacksonville. It's a pretty enviable job. You have what most people say is a generational quarterback talent on your roster that you get to build a team around. They are $90 million in cap space in a state with no income tax. Like, it's been brutal. I get it. But it's better than a blank canvas because you already have the most important piece.
Yes.
You have the quarterback.
Yes. By the way, some news coming in out of Las Vegas, folks.
Oh, God.
Darren Waller, Denzel Perryman, Trayvon Mullen have not practiced this week, and according to Deshaun Reed, who covers the Raiders for The Athletic, all three will be out this week. What does that mean? Real quickly, Darren Waller, you know what that means. Guy's a stud.
Yep.
Denzel Perryman is their leading tackler. He's got 133 tackles on the season. Cross him off the list then. Trayvon Mullen is a starting cornerback for this team. And so we talked about their corners earlier and what that might look like. Well, Trayvon Mullen listed on the starting depth chart. That means you have to get into Brandon Faison, Amik Robertson, perhaps the old Desmond Trufant, who has played very limited snaps for them, but maybe Desmond Trufant hops in at that corner position. So that's significant. It also means that with Denzel Perryman out, I don't know if it'll either be Will Compton, Divine Diablo, which is a great name, or Patrick
that's real.
Owusu, who is their back, a third
Diablo,
string.
what I call my youngest. Diablo.
KJ Wright. I mean, they've got some veterans there, but Denzel Perryman, he is their run stopper. He is a thumper, and he's got 133 tackles on the season as their top run defender on that defense in a game, folks, that is going to be run heavy out. Those are big losses. A corner, the second
Big.
biggest weapon on offense, let's be honest. Hunter Renfrow stepping up. He's great. but Waller was their number one weapon on offense. He's out, a starting corner's out, and their best run defender, their thumper, their leading tackler out as well.
A little higher or lower, presented by the Ohio Lottery.
Yes.
This week, Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio. Week 15 power rankings. Number 1, Green Bay, 10-3. It takes us to number 2, Danny Cunningham.
Higher or lower?
The New England Patriots, number 2 in Mike Florio's power poll. Nice bye week move up to number 2. Zegura, higher, lower, or just right?
I think it's fine. I'm not going to go crazy with them. They're number 2. Do I think right now I would take them over Kansas City on a neutral field? No, I wouldn't. So, and I don't think they beat the Bucs, nor do I think that they beat the Cardinals, to be honest, although the Belichick-Kingsbury is a pretty lopsided matchup. Nonetheless, they are not number 2. I believe that best they could be number 4 on this list. So, yes, worse.
Bishop.
They're worse. Yeah, they're worser. For me, I would have them behind. The only thing I'm curious about is Arizona without Hopkins, but I would have them behind the other 4 there, including the Rams, the way that they're playing right now. The ceiling is bigger on them than it is on New England. So I'd have them a little bit below them. They played the Bucs head-to-head in Foxborough.
And lost.
I'm guessing if you did this from a who's favored on a neutral field, they'd be underdogs against all 5 of those teams, all the way down to Arizona.
Next.
Hold on real quick.
Oh.
I don't know if this was a parting shot or if this was part of the summation of events that transpired that led to Urban Meyer's dismissal, but Aaron Wilson reporting just a half hour ago. Former Jags coach Urban Meyer told Jaguars coaching staff per a league source, quote, "I had a better coaching staff at Bowling Green. You guys are effing terrible," end quote.
Yeah, you did. Isaac Uzumba, baby. Roll along.
Wow. I mean, the fact that he thought that he could do that and it would never get out. God, isn't Brian Schottenheimer on that? Darrell Bevell? Like, these guys have been around the league forever.
Yes.
I mean, and you could say whatever you want. We didn't like the hires when he made them. Like, I didn't. But remember when he said it was the great staff, the best staff he hired? Remember all that?
Oh, boy, do I.
Okay, next.
Higher or lower?
Number 3 is Tampa Bay. Number 4, the Los Angeles Rams. 9-4, big win over the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Foosball. Higher, lower, or just right, Bishop?
Maybe a spot lower. Maybe I'd put them behind Kansas City, but right close to where they can win the Super Bowl. They get everything you need. They get big-time playmakers on defense. They got a big-time quarterback. Odell's starting to get going a little bit for them with Stafford. Stafford's playing really well. Yeah, I mean, they're among the teams that you can say, yep, they can win a Super Bowl. So you can move them up 1, down 1, but I'd say sweet spot.
Zegura?
I'd take the Chiefs over them right now, but I probably think they beat the Pats. So, hey, I think sweet spot is just fine with me. They're absolutely in that mix, and it is amazing how NFC dominant the top of this list is and what a cliff it falls off of after the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, lost to the Raiders. Their only win in their last 6 games.
Next.
One of the strangest results.
Higher or lower?
Number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 6, the Arizona Cardinals. Number 7, the Cowboys. Takes us to number 8, and the Tennessee Titans at 9-4. Higher, lower, or just right, Zegura?
I believe this team, as we've talked about, 9-4 here. They don't scare me. I don't know that, like right now, if I had to wager on them, I think the Colts beat them. I certainly think the Bills beat them. I might even think the Bengals to beat them. They are definitely worse. Definitely. The Tennessee Titans, without Derrick Henry, are not the 8th best team in the NFL. They're not an explosive offense in any respect. And you can't play the Jags every week. You get to play them twice and the Texans twice, but you can't do that every week. I don't think the Titans are very good.
Bishop?
Yeah, it's really a remarkable thing that Vrabel has done here, isn't it?
Yes.
When you think about it, because you thought that the wheels would fall off. I'm trying to remember when Derrick Henry was lost for the year, what game that was. But they lost the 2 previous games, beaten handily at New England, and then lost to the Texans. Before that, they beat the Saints, and I would say that this is a pretty similar team. This is really similar to like the Raiders' win over the Cowboys. Like they slumped the Rams without Derrick Henry. They beat them in LA 28-16.
Yep.
They won at the Colts. They beat the Chiefs 27-3.
Yep.
I mean, it's just an amazing thing what the former Walsh Jesuit great has done down there with the Titans. So they're not as good as 8, no, but they play hard for him. And we're all Titans this week, right? As they're at Pittsburgh.
Yep. Frankly, they're 9-4. They're still steadying the ship in spite of no Derrick Henry. They have managed to.
Wild.
They win the games they're supposed to. They're 9-4. They're right there in the thick of things. Next.
Higher or lower?
Number 9, the Ratbirds. The Ravens 8-5. Higher, lower, or just right? Bishop, we'll start with you.
They're not the 9th best team in the football. They're just not. That being said, you can't help but respect the fact that they are 8-5 because this has been a brutal week for us with COVID. It's been a brutal year for them for injuries, and no team in the league has been hit harder than them with injuries. It's crazy what their roster is, and the fact that they got to 8-5. It's incredible they didn't push the chips in last Sunday. Are you kidding?
Yes. So well coached. So much belief.
My God, so much belief to get an onside kick to keep. I mean, it's crazy that they were able to stay engaged in that game without Lamar Jackson and just next man up. I have nothing. You hate him, and you can hate him, and you should hate him for all of the reasons you all know. But I don't. There are a few teams I respect more in terms of what they get out of what they have than Baltimore.
Agreed. They are a stunningly well.
Crazy.
Organized team, the belief, they're a clutch meter, the fact that they have been able to pull out so many games, and now that's starting to run out because they're just so decimated. I mean, you think about a team that is without so many people that they expected to be principal parts of their organization and their success on the field this year, just wiped out 3/4 of their starting secondary, both starting corners, both starting running backs, your left tackle. Lamar's missed games, and they won one of the ones that he did miss, but that's probably not going to happen in Green Bay. Bateman missed a big chunk at the beginning of the year. Watkins has missed time for them. It's wild. It's wild. They remade the pass. Judon's gone off of this team because he signed a big free agent deal with New England. And the fact that they're still even have a winning record, honestly, is remarkable. But ranked 9th, and that's what I was saying. The chasm that exists currently between the team ranked 7th, which would be the Dallas Cowboys, and then the next group is massive. But I disagree with a lot of these rankings. I think that the Bills are better than they're ranked. I think the Colts are. Nobody wants to play the Colts. You have something at stake. You don't want to play the Colts right now.
There are 5. I think the next 5 teams: Colts, Chargers, 49ers, Bills, and Bengals,
and us
have incredibly high ceilings.
So do the Vikings, quite frankly.
Explosive high ceilings, and are all really in it. The only thing you're right on the Vikings, it's just they're hanging on by a thread of being in it at 6 and 7.
Yep.
But those 5 teams, Colts, Chargers, 49ers, Bills, Bengals, you feel like they can beat anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere.
Agreed.
And they could score in bunches.
Yeah, and if you go beyond the Browns, you go to the Vikings. No team in the NFC that wants to play the Vikings right now. That is not an easy game. I don't know that anybody wants to play the Dolphins right now, who are all of a sudden playing phenomenal football offensively and defensively. Now, they're going to have to do it without running backs or Jalen Waddle this week. He just got placed on the COVID list, and he's had a sensational rookie season. And the Broncos are not a joke either. They slumped the Cowboys, and they have slumped some teams that had aspirations. So, yeah, it is a jumbled mess. The cream of the crop is separated, and fortunately for us, all that cream is residing in the NFC right now, with the exception of, the Chiefs and the Patriots. And he is a Browns team. You can hang, certainly with the Chiefs, and you get another shot at the Patriots, perhaps.
All right, think about this, just to hammer home your point even more. These are 7 and 6 teams. Colts, 49ers, Bills, Bengals, Browns. Broncos also at 7 and 6. These are 6 and 7 teams. Vikings, Dolphins. Steelers are 6-1. Eagles, Falcons, Saints, football team, Raiders. That's one game in the standings. But there are teams that I mentioned that I would not at all be surprised if they were in the Super Bowl, and there are teams that I mentioned that are some of the most gutless, worst teams in this league.
Yep.
That I just mentioned, and one game separates them.
Yep.
That's wild.
That's it for higher or lower this week.
Better or worse?
Browns fans get into First Energy Stadium quicker on game day with Express Access. Enroll for free today. We think you're number one too, Gibby. Enter through exclusive lanes at each entrance, plus use Express Access for a chance to win a signed Myles Garrett jersey and other prizes at the end of the season. Click on the Tickets tab at Cleveland Browns mobile app to learn more. Get you updated on where we are with everything coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, Ohio Business Machine, preferred copper provider, your Cleveland Browns. All the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Just to give the people a little window into what's happened here.
Yeah.
You know,
take them behind the scenes.
This is a family program. Everybody loves each other.
Yeah.
This has been a crazy week, I think. been a crazy week.
It has been a crazy
and,
week.
And so we do a Zoom for the show.
Yep.
A Zoom. And so I'm on the Zoom, Z's on the Zoom, and Gibby's on the Zoom because I'm remote. You're at the Cross Country Mortgage campus. And so this is what we have to do as we go through these times, and we've done this for 90 weeks.
I'm sorry, they can't hear you because I've turned you down.
Oh, no. So this, okay.
So who has the con? Remember who has the con.
Who has the con?
Remember who has the
con.
con.
For Red October. So here's what has happened. So we have a Zoom that the three of them, who has the con?
You're all going back up.
Line. So we have a Zoom that we're all on. So I'm on the Zoom. All of a sudden, Z leaves the Zoom. And Gibby says, well, you can't get
I don't know
back
about
in
all of a
because
sudden.
there's been, well, I'm getting to it. But from my view, all of a sudden, you feel like you've been attacked. The official Nano of the program feels like you've been attacked.
Yeah.
Gibby feels like it's justifiable. That's for the audience to judge. I'm not Judge Wapner on this case. So you leave the Zoom, and I'm going, what's going on? I know we're getting close. Danny says, we're ready to go. So as that happens, I then get a FaceTime notification on my phone.
That's right.
Then I go, oh, okay, so I guess we're doing this now. So I click on that, and then there's Z, who has eliminated Gibby from the Zoom.
Yeah, I'm free
In the
of his
meantime,
yoke. I'm free of his yoke.
And that's fine. I can turn you off anytime I need to.
So you're just hurting the people.
I'm not hurting the people.
You're hurting the people.
The people might actually thank me.
No, the people are sad. They're on Twitter right now. What?
I want you guys to get
real
along.
and Gibby.
Whatever
and Renegade
happens
Gibby.
on
Listen,
Twitter is
hey,
a total
fellas.
reflection of everyone.
Fellas, it's the holidays.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be in Green Bay together. Can't wait.
I'm not
Can
going.
we get an eggnog in a moose mug and embrace? Okay.
That's Gibby. What did I do? What I do? I'm just getting attacked.
Hold on. All right.
Profanities hurled in my
So
direction.
we go. All right, let's go behind the curtain here. You want to
No,
go behind?
who's
we go to
right or
break,
who's wrong
And Zegura's
is-
like, where do we stand on things? Are we taping something at 3 o'clock?
Right.
There's still 37 minutes left of a radio show. I'm currently working on that.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we're all juggling
the
things,
good
Gibby.
news is that we are a family, fellas. We are a family. And through thick and thin, we have each other's back. And this little fracas too shall pass. It's the holidays. We need to embrace, come together, and deliver 32 minutes of exceptional content for these fine people. That's my hope. I have one wish this holiday season. I'm Tiny Tim. This is all I want.
As long as he keeps my mic on, they're going to get great content.
We assume.
What do you mean? The run-through of the Raiders? The run-through of our
Landon.
roster? The explanation of
You
what
guys-
could happen on the back end of our defense?
That part's
Where are
been
you
great.
going to get it?
That part's been great.
You guys need to watch Scrooged. We got to get
Great
you in the
film.
Christmas spirit.
It's a great
You
film.
got to. It is great. It's fantastic.
That's coming up.
Underrated.
That's
Not seen enough.
A late push movie for me. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I got Christmas Story coming up soon. I always love that. You got to get that in before. I know that you've been watching ever since you
youngest
were born.
or have been? What's the youngest age one can take in a Christmas Story?
I think kids.
12?
No, I think you'd be younger than that. There's nothing of any type of ill repute. It's all about kid stuff. And a Red Ryder BB gun. There's no there's nothing that would come across in Christmas Vacation or anything that would come across in Scrooged even.
Yeah. I started it with Black Cobra and Bootsy, and I thought, I don't remember if this is okay for Bootsy. I knew that the oldest was fine, but I couldn't remember if it was okay for Bootsy or not.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he says.
I'm thinking that
when he yells at the Bumpus Hounds, he throws but you can't even really know what word he's saying. It's like.
Oh yeah, that's
Bumpuses.
right. Yeah, the Hounds.
Yeah.
True. All right, we will have a conversation next with Andre Weingarten. He is the franchise designer and ratings adjuster on Madden. We're doing that because Miles is a 99. That's coming up next. Close to the Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. may be blamed for a night's sleep where you're tossing and turning. So if you've gone mattress shopping at traditional furniture stores, you've seen the outrageous prices. At Northeast Factory Direct, you get the same quality mattress at a fraction of the cost. Anything mattress related, they're going to have you covered. Pillow top, memory foam, gel foam, all the sizes. And the best part is they've got a ton of mattresses in stock, and they're ready to deliver on them. So you can get them right away. Also have 0% financing available. Encourage you to see for yourself. Check them out, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You can also shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. And with that, we head out on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy, Andre Weingarten. He is the franchise designer, ratings adjuster, and the head of research and analytics for Madden and EA Sports. And we are having you on, my friend, because we have a 99. And I say, good job out of you. And what took so long?
Well, thank you first off for having me. But I am so thrilled to see that Myles Garrett has broken into that 99 club. One of 5 players with it right now, joining Aaron Donald, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, and Jalen Ramsey as the 5 99s in the NFL right now. And he's the second pass rusher to be elevated to a 99 in our program's history. The first was Khalil Mack a few years ago. So you wanted to know what took so long. So I would say the first thing is that this is, in my opinion and the team's opinion, Myles' best season, period, so far. And he has been an elite player for a long, long time, right? You could trace back to his rookie season. You saw the flashes, and then 2018 he really exploded. And he's just been one of those dominant presences every single week this year in a way that he hasn't been probably throughout his career. And you could say that he's been consistent pretty much every year, but he's taken it to a new level this year. Obviously, he is second in sacks right now in the NFL, but he also is number 1 in pass rush win rate, and his pressure rate is the highest of his career by far. If you look back even to last year when he had a very, very strong season, he had 63 pressures in 568 pass rush snaps. He has 62 in 407. 161 fewer pass rush snaps and 1 fewer pressure. Already has his new career high in sacks. He's doing it against every single possible competition, and with all the extra attention given to him on the line, it's a no-brainer.
So in my mind, I'm picturing you guys get into this room and there's, rich mahogany and perhaps some bourbon, and you go around and it's like a secret vote. Everybody has to put a ball into the chamber, and then you look at him. If all the balls are 99s, then he gets to be a 99. How does it actually come that you say, yes, we as a group, or perhaps you as the leader of the group, yes, we are bestowing the 99 upon somebody?
Yeah, so we have a list. We kind of treat it like a short list, kind of the same way that you see, the Heisman watch list to start a season or MVP favorite list.
Sure.
We compile a list of guys that we say, okay, who do we think could, if they do X, Y, or Z, could break into the 99 club this year? And Myles was at the top of our list coming into the year, and he was under heavy consideration last year as well. Obviously, the end of the season when him getting COVID kind of derailed that a little bit for him. But he had been someone in our mind's eye that we said, this is an elite player. He's probably the best edge rusher in the league. What will it take for him to get there? And then, so we laid out our criteria for pretty much every player who was in consideration. And some of it, it's based on their ratings, right? Some players, it's harder to get them into that 99 category than others, just based on how they win and what they do. But I think for Myles specifically, he was already basically the best power rusher in our game on the edge. So it was just a matter of time for him to, elevate that consistency. And I think the thing that put it over the top was the play that he had. It's an innocuous play, right? It was against Lamar Jackson a couple weeks ago, right before the bye, where he chased down Lamar Jackson, and Lamar had like a 9-yard run on the play.
Yep.
And Myles chased him down, and he hit 19.92 miles per hour chasing down Lamar Jackson. So for us, a 90 speed is to be able to hit 20 miles per hour pretty consistently. That time was his second fastest of his career, and he did it covering 38 yards. His fastest time came in 2019, which was just above 20, and he did it covering 85 yards. So when you have
Wow.
that much of a running start, it's easier to, build up speed. That's why you see special teamers put up ridiculous times all the time. For him to hit that number in a shorter distance, we elevated his speed and we said, okay, if we go any higher, he's going to get there immediately. He's already having a ridiculous season. That was a signature type play to signify how just ridiculous he is on top of his whole season. And then we put him on watch.
Wow.
So the process of that play that you just described that happened previous to the bye week, and then the game he had on Sunday, which was extraordinary, leading to the 99 today, or whether it was yesterday, today, whatever, this week. What is that process like now when you take us through that in terms of we're close, now when do we do it?
Yeah, we want to pick a game where we feel like the competition is worthy of it, right? So the fact that he was able to create a lot of pressure against Lamar, who is one of the toughest players to bring down in the NFL just because of his ridiculous speed. And you saw it when he chased Lamar and Clowney chased Lamar and they all couldn't get to him. And he threw that pass to Andrews in the back of the end zone before the bye. So he's a rare case of you have to fundamentally change how you play. So we said, okay, he's coming off of the bye. He just had a great game. They're facing them again. Level of competition is really high. And that's pretty much the peak for us because, guys can be great and they can be productive. But when you have matchup-based players, which a lot of football is, right, then you want them to be able to perform against the highest level of competition. It's the same way with scouting. If you talk with scouts, they always say, he's great at defending high-quality players or he's great at defending good-quality players, but he'll struggle against the elites. And it's the same thing with a pass rusher. You want to see them perform against the highest level of competition in the toughest of circumstances. And he did exactly that. So he went above and beyond. And obviously the strip sack, recovery, touchdown is a ridiculous signature play to put him over the top.
It was an incredible play. And 99, I just have a question. Philosophically, when you say something, it's a 10 out of 10. How do we arrive at 99 and not extend it to the 100? Is it a 99th percentile thing? What's the difference? Why do we not go on ratings all the way to 100?
It's been that way for a really long time. I think we had 100 way back in the day, but that well precedes my time.
Okay.
We can't even do it, right? Our formula is just hit that 99 mark, and that's how it's set up. So we did once upon a time have 100 rating for, I believe, Devin Hester's speed, but that was the rare exception. But I think if we're being honest, the only player who would get that 100 is probably Aaron Donald.
Okay.
Just based on how ridiculous he is.
Sure.
He's I think he's second in the league in pressures right now, and he's getting double teamed over 70% of his snaps. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So.
Wow, that's yeah. I mean, he would be the one. I mean, it's interesting. It's how it mirrors the game because he's the guy. When we think about Donald, we think you think that all-time NFL defensive tackle list was one that is unimpeachable. No one can ever get into that club, and he's changed that. Now he is in that club, so that speaks to a part of it. We talk about what it takes to get a guy up to a 99. What does it take to get a guy to drop from a 99, and how tough is that conversation?
It's really tough because the 99 club is a special club, right? As you could see from all of the things that we've done internally to celebrate Miles, with the chain and all the announcements and partnering with the Browns and the NFL and all these different places. So it's difficult. The way we determine it is once you get there, you've really exceeded the benefit of the doubt to get into the club, and you really have to go probably 3 or 4 weeks in a row where you're not performing at that level. So one game's not going to drop you, but if there's pressure because there are guys coming on their tail, especially at the same position, and they're outperforming them, that's a separate discussion. But I think Mahomes was the example that he struggled for a while, and he had been a 99 for two straight years, 2.5 years, and the struggles happened long enough that we said, okay, this has to be it. We're not going to broadcast it to the world that we're dropping him beyond what we do with our normal ratings, but that's something that has had to be done because of that consistent non-pinnacle performance. would be the way I describe it.
Andre, great stuff, man, and thanks for joining us today on a big and a fun day for the organization and what's been kind of a brutal week. So it was good to have a little fun today. With the 99. Thanks, pal.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Also seeing some breaking news from Jake Trotter on the Ronnie Harrison front. You guys seeing that as well? On the Ronnie Harrison move to the COVID-19 list?
No.
Yeah. I saw Jake tweet that here in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, everybody at the beat tweeted it at the same time, 2:43. So I'm guessing the text went out and they have been advised that Ronnie Harrison Jr. will be on the COVID-19 list. And so if you're the Browns, we talked about what that means on the back end of this defense. And, we'll talk about that again probably tomorrow as we get ready for the show because I know we got a guest coming up.
Yeah,
maybe, or perhaps.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick timeout. The Harrison news adds to, and yes, you can start to do the clock on what that means. Unfortunately, with Ronnie, with that test happening today, so that's where you stand on this point. And so another key member, upwards of 12, 13, when you talk about guys either starters or in the nickel or in the standard set. So that's a lot going on here. We'll put some perspective on all of this coming up. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. When a medical mistake cause you injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. As we mentioned, as we were going to break there, the list expands from a COVID standpoint with Ronnie Harrison being moved to the COVID list as well. And so this is obviously a substantial list and another substantial loss. We heard from Joe Woods earlier in the show saying that he was hoping against hope that he'd be back. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it is probably not going to happen. And so for the Browns, you're looking at a situation now where you are without 3 of your 5 starting defensive backs. You are without 5 starters on defense: Malik McDowell, Anthony Walker Jr., Greg Newsome, and John Johnson, and Ronnie Harrison. Troy Hill, you could kind of say, is a starter as well. Tack McKinley. So 7 principal defensive players are out. And on the offensive side, Jarvis, Jed, Wyatt Teller, Austin Hooper, Baker Mayfield, Kareem Hunt. So 6 principal players on offense. So out of your top 24, you're down 13 of them going into this game. Not to mention, forget Jack Conklin's not playing for that injury. So you're significantly compromised here as the Cleveland Browns, and yet you're going to find a way. And so let's stay with the news now, which is the latest that Ronnie Harrison is out. And so Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, though, will be your corners. My best guess now is that MJ Stewart will play nickel, but also maybe play some dime backer that Ronnie would have played in some looks. And then that Javonte Moffitt, who is very trusted by these coaches, will likely play safety alongside Grant Delpit. So if you're thinking about the Browns in a nickel situation, it would probably be Denzel, Greedy, MJ Stewart inside, with Moffitt and Delpit at safety. And so, for a team that a couple weeks ago turned in one of the great defensive performances against the Baltimore Ravens with a dime defense that featured John Johnson, that featured Ronnie Harrison and Delpit, and at corner, Greg Newsome inside with Denzel and Greedy. Well, 3 of those 6 are gone, not to mention your leading tackler, Anthony Walker Jr. And so I think the Browns are going to be in a lot of nickel, which would have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and some combination of Jacob Phillips or Malcolm Smith out there. When you're in base, Tock will be the third linebacker with those guys. And in base, it's possible that MJ Stewart slides back into a safety role alongside Grant Delpit, or they might just roll with Moffitt there. But certainly a lot to deal with, a lot to overcome. The good news, though, Kevin Stefanski saying that Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett both will play for the Browns this Sunday. And if you can take advantage of this team, and we've talked about this Raiders team, that they can throw it, they have struggled to protect the passer. Tackle Brandon Parker struggled. Colton Miller, former first-rounder, he's had his struggles this year as well. And then Alex Leatherwood, the rookie at the guard, has been dreadful. So look for the Browns to maybe get some matchups where they try to get either Myles or Clowney somehow inside. And that's where losing Tack McKinley hurts, because he would be on the edge and one of these guys kick inside, and you're not going to have that now. So Sheldon Day, Malik McDowell, those guys have to step up, and then Porter Gustin or Joe Jackson, whoever ends up at the defensive end position with Garrett and Clowney, they've got to, make some hay as well.
And Porter's done that. He did that last year for us. He made some big plays for us.
Interception in the wild card win. Yep.
Absolutely. So he's made some big plays and is capable of that. So we know that. They're shorthanded too. Over the course of these 2 hours, we learned that they'll be without Darren Waller. Also, their leading tackler will be out of this game defensively. They're bad against the run, and he's the best they have of it.
Yep.
So that tells you kind of where they are. Is it Denzel Perriman? Do I have that right?
Denzel Perriman, yep, former Charger, a name that was at times linked to the Browns for that Mike linebacker spot, and so he will be there with the Raiders. He is out, Waller is out, and Trayvon Mullen, their starting corner, out as well.
Yeah. So that's where we stand as of now. Coach has been speaking for the last few minutes, but I guess you have to put this cautionary tale on it, because you're not really over until you kick off on Saturday. Really, is where you're going to be with this. We're in these enhanced protocols now, pal. Right? So we could see. Who knows what could happen? If you're not in the enhanced, then there's a test, and then that's it, and you're on for game day. But that's not
30 seconds
enhanced. So there's going to be more testing, and we'll see what comes in the next 24, 48 hours. But obviously a wild week, and a lot of names that who will be down against the Raiders on Saturday. We're not alone. It's happening all around
15
around sports, in fact.